Hey, KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra. Tom Keegan sitting here to my right, your left, and I'm Matt Tait. We're going to talk KU basketball in heavy doses today, aren't we?
Well, there's plenty to talk about.
Right in the middle of the season.
It's the wildest Big 12 race we're about to witness, and imagine how wild those standings would look if K-State had pulled off that double overtime game against Baylor.
Or the one
in
that
Waco.
They took West Virginia to extra sessions.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year. K-State is right there as well, and anybody that thinks they'll be an easy out home or away, it's crazy.
Yeah, and they're playing three freshmen, tons of minutes. Those three guys are good.
Yeah, speaking of crazy, I said not long ago, either the last episode or the one before that I think 2 losses is going to win it. Well,
maybe 5.
I'm dead wrong. I think it'll be closer to 8 than 2. And that's
which 5 is equidistant from 2 and 8.
It's exciting. You just witnessed history.
So you're saying 6.
Yeah, there you go. Call me crazy again.
Yeah.
But I think it could be.
Yeah, and you don't want to be last, because if you're last, you're the equivalent of an actor who played CD on Walker, Texas Ranger, and was a Wilford Brimley wannabe. And Wilford Brimley was the worst well-known actor, and this guy was a Wilford Brimley wannabe. He tried to be Wilford Brimley.
It's amazing how Wilford himself became well-known.
Yeah, because of his poor acting skills.
How does that happen?
Because you're never lost in the character. You're always conscious of, there's Wilford Brimley overacting.
Just focusing on him.
Under the mustache.
His delivery, his
brutal
awkward body language. Yeah, just a bad dude.
Not a bad dude, a bad actor.
Not
in the sense of off-stage bad actor, but on stage.
He's closer to 8 losses than 2 losses, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, he's last place, is what I'm saying.
All right, let's jump into the good news. And yeah, KU has lost back-to-back road games in pretty embarrassing fashion. I think there's been a little bit of a debate on Twitter and with the fan base, which one was worse, West Virginia or Oklahoma State. I'll ask you the same question.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah?
I think so.
The talent of the opponent?
Right, because West Virginia can make you look bad, so that's part of why they were bad in West Virginia.
Either way, I think they're exactly equal in terms of KU no-showed both places, and that's a problem. I think it's not quite time to panic yet, and the good news is KU doesn't seem to be panicking. Bill Self, this week at his press conference, kind of went on and on and on and on about that, how it's sports, these things happen, and he referenced the Chiefs and their 1-5 start, and how then they won 11 in a row and made the playoffs and won a playoff game. He talked about the Royals. He said this year, and they won the World Series, but I think he was talking about the year before when they just made it to the World Series, and they were 22-21 at one point.
21-22.
Yeah, that's right. So, his point is these things happen even to good teams, even to championship contending teams. We're not going to worry about it. And I think he's right to approach it that way, and I'm sure his players are probably following suit. They've done this in the past, and he's kind of had to calm everyone down, and it's proven to work out pretty well. So the good news is, as much as the fans may be up in arms and freaking out about it, KU is not freaking out about it yet.
And the bad news is that there are tangible reasons that they played poorly and didn't show up in those games.
Right.
The tangible reasons they played poorly are they have trouble stopping point guards who get to the paint, and this conference is loaded with them. Jawan Evans is so hard to stop.
Yeah.
He got to the paint at will. And you're coming up 2 games in a 3-day span with 2 terrific point guards. Isaiah Taylor coming off an awful game in the upset victory against West Virginia. And I don't know if that was an upset, though. Was that in
I think, yeah.
That was in Morgantown.
It's an upset.
Was it in Morgantown?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That was definitely an upset then. And then I always picture the courts to remember where it was, and it was in Morgantown.
Marquette usually just beams off his brain.
Horrible call at the end of the Marquette game.
I'm glad we brought that up.
And then Monday, Monte Morris is outstanding. So it's not going to get any easier, and I think you could see Kansas throwing some zone out there.
That'd be interesting. I think you're banging the drum, not quite loudly yet, but it's kind of like soft.
Background music,
right now, yeah. And pretty soon, I think you could start bringing out those big mallets that they play drums with and just really hammering that thing home.
Get some tattoos.
Yeah, just really be a rock
Get
star.
a mohawk.
But I think get into that a little more. I think you've got a great take on that, and I think the zone is something that Kansas needs to at least investigate right now with this team, right?
I think so, and I understand how he wants to not give them a life jacket and see how good they can become at the zone, and I mean at the man-to-man. But the fact is, this personnel is not as quick as most Kansas teams, and sometimes you can mask that with a good aggressive zone. And if you don't, they're playing aggressively defensively in man-to-man, but that's part of the thing that's exposing them.
That's what's scary about it.
So I don't think that they're going to be unaggressive in a zone, and I think you can be aggressive and angle that zone to stop the penetration.
For sure, yeah. I mean, they don't have that big man rim protector that they can funnel everything toward, and so you can kind of create that.
No, he's doing a good job in the pros, Jeff Withey.
Yeah, he definitely is. So, well, you talked about it already. Isaiah Taylor coming to Allen Fieldhouse with the Texas Longhorns and Shaka Smart on Saturday. Let's break that one down a little bit. Isaiah Taylor in Big 12 play is averaging 19 points per game, and that's with the game the other night. I mean, he's been red hot. He's lightning quick. A couple of years ago, unless it was last year, I can't remember, but he played a whale of a game at Allen Fieldhouse. A game, if I remember correctly, I was watching that one just hoping it never ended because he was so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
KU competed so hard to win, and they did. They held him off, but he's just a fantastic talent. I love how he plays. I love what he can do, and he's just that relentless attacker.
He is relentless attacker. He's not a great shooter.
Right.
Maybe getting a little better, although he was 0 for against West Virginia. I think he was 0 for 14 against Kansas once, maybe 1 for 14.
Oh, right, down
there. But he also had a couple of 23-point games against Kansas, one as a freshman and one as a sophomore. So it's a question of whether his shots are going in or not. But he can get where he wants to go. And he's like Evans, although I think Evans is already better than Taylor. But they're similar in that they're just really quick.
That first step is something else. And against this Kansas personnel, without that guy in there to kind of reject things and change shots.
Yeah, and then they have some athleticism in terms of rebounding and chasing down loose balls, like Prince Ibe is an athletic guy. This is not a layup. I mean, sure.
Not a home lock, like we talked about last week.
It's not, and we were right that TCU was a home lock.
That's true. The other guy, Kerwin Roach, a freshman, don't know much about him at all. I know you're in the same boat I am.
Yeah.
Bill Self at his press conference this week said he could be the best athlete in all of college basketball.
And he said in terms of for his size, he's 6'4".
Yeah, that's pretty high praise right there.
Right, and he comes off the bench.
Yeah, so it was funny because, before the season began and even in just a few weeks ago, Self and other Big 12 coaches referred to this Texas team as kind of a sleeping giant, a team that could really make some noise if they figure it all out and put it together in the first year under Shaka Smart. And Self was asked this week, why do you think that? And he had two words. That's all he needed. Players, athletes.
Yeah.
And they're full of them. Up and down the lineup, they've got good depth, and that's without Cameron Ridley, who's injured still.
Right.
Otherwise, they'd be really tough. But they are 4-2. KU's 4-2. All of a sudden, it's a pretty
Who
big
isn't
game.
4-2 in the Big 12?
No kidding, Marquette.
Baylor.
All right, well, let's talk about those next two games. Prediction time. I want to hear who you think's going to win. Kansas at home against Texas, and then a couple nights later, Kansas up in Ames at Iowa State. Do they go 2-0? Do they go 0-2? What do you think?
I think they go 1-1, and I think it's a victory over Texas and a loss to an emerging, very talented Iowa State team.
Completely agree. 81-80 KU over Texas is what I have, and 84-77 a loss in Ames. Iowa State's so tough there, and their confidence is growing by the day.
I'm going 77-70 against Texas.
Okay.
And then I'm going Iowa State 86, Kansas 83.
A thriller.
A thriller in Manila.
All right, who plays well?
Ames.
Let's talk about the next two games, but maybe specifically Texas. Who's your primetime pick? Who do you think's?
Carlton Bragg is emerging, so I'm going to stick with that. He got into foul trouble in Stillwater, so he only played 11 minutes, but that was time enough to score 8 points on 4 for 4 from the field. He's making those shots down low that he was missing early in the season because he was rushing, not giving himself enough credit, and giving college defenders too much credit, which is typical of a freshman because it is an adjustment. They're so quick, so big, and you're just not used to it, so you give him even too much credit and rushing. He's not doing that anymore, and his mid-range jumper just looks terrific.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't see too many big men anymore who can just stare at the rim and hit that shot.
He likes to shoot it, too. You can tell
Loves
there's a
to
lot
shoot.
of confidence, and anytime he even gets this much space, he's happy to pull the trigger. So that's a good pick. He played great at Oklahoma State. He would have had a big-time game if he could have played more minutes, no doubt about it. I'm going to go with Wayne Selden. Selden's not the same Selden that we saw in the beginning of the year or not even close to the guy we saw in Korea. But I think history has shown that he responds pretty well in these types of games. When his team needs him, and this team does, they desperately need someone to kind of be that lead-by-example guy. Selden's the kind of guy that'll jump 4 rows into the stands to save a ball and have it be an all-time highlight. So I think whether he's making shots or putting up a big point total, I think his effort is off the charts in this one. I think he really shows this team that, hey, I'm still here, I'm still a leader, and if we all go play like this, we'll be okay. And so I think he'll score too if he does that. But I think more than anything, it'll just be that effort and example that he sets that makes him my primetime pick this week. Anything else you want to jump into here? Football, volleyball, tennis, golf, anything you want to talk about before we go to the most obnoxious man, everybody's favorite part?
Yes, well, the signing day is coming up for football.
February 3rd.
Right, and we'll be on that with a KU Sports Extra.
Yep.
But the one thing I feel good about with Kansas football now, and there aren't a lot of things, let's be honest, is that they have addressed the offensive line, and that's not going to show up right away. It's going to take a couple, 2-3 years down the road for it to show up. But they are recruiting high school offensive linemen. They'll know how to develop them, and that's key because the last 2 coaching staffs did not do that. Gill recruited some good skill players, did not have the discipline, that staff, to recruit the guys you develop long-range, the offensive linemen. So Weiss inherited a terrible situation on the offensive line and looked for shortcuts. You don't look for shortcuts. And he did, and he went the JUCO route, and that didn't work. Not at offensive line. You don't do it that way at offensive line. So they're doing it the right way on the offensive line. It's just going to take a couple of years.
That is something that you've been banging the drum for quite a while. But high school recruitment, develop that kid, and they're doing it. So we'll see.
Do you have a favorite drummer?
Ringo Starr.
Mine's Ray Tait.
Ray Tait, really?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Good player.
He's from Babacool.
I like it. All right, well, let's finish it off. It will be exciting, though, that football stuff. You know, for the offseason, it doesn't get much more exciting than signing day. I think signing day and the time around that is even more exciting than spring football these days because that's just kind of a ho-hum thing, practice. A couple big recruiting weekends. This will be one. KU's got 6 or 7 guys coming in for official visits, and then the following weekend with Kentucky in the field house, the football team will have a few more guys in there.
Yeah,
so
and signing day is big. You know, you have the big press conference you go to, and they discuss all the players. That's a feel-good day for any program, whether it's a juggernaut Alabama or a Kansas trying to get off the mat.
No
huge
doubt.
day, signing day, huge press conference.
No doubt about it. All right, let's finish it off. Most obnoxious man in sports this week. Who you got?
Doug Peterson,
Love it.
the former Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator, hired by the Eagles to be the head coach to replace the fired Chip Kelly. I thought the Eagles were a little quick on the trigger there with Chip Kelly. I think he's a good football coach and would have gotten it done there in Philadelphia. But they go with Doug Peterson, and Doug was asked, what about the clock management in that game against the Patriots? Down 2 touchdowns, and you're taking your sweet time, and his answer, paraphrasing, was, well, we didn't want to give the ball back to Tom Brady too quickly. What? You're down 2 touchdowns. You've got to score as quickly as possible. You're either going to stop Brady or you're not. And if you don't, you're not going to win, but you got to get the ball back to him as quickly as possible. So if your defense does stop him, you have as much time as possible to get that second touchdown.
Common sense.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that was brutal answer.
They should have fired him right on the spot.
How about that, too? I don't remember very often, if at all, where a head coach introduced at a new franchise is asked about his former team and play calling. That
right.
just never happens.
Well, that's called starting a tenure behind the 8 ball.
No kidding.
You don't want to be behind the 8 ball.
All right, I'm going to stick to the NFL for my most obnoxious man in sports, and it is a group of people. I like doing the groups. You might have figured that out by now.
Yeah, because you're gutless.
Yeah, but it's all these media types. These media types.
Oh, now he's cannibalizing. Nice.
Who have taken issue with Chris Harris when he was asked to how you tackle Rob Gronkowski, New England tight end. The Broncos and Patriots play in the AFC Championship game this week, and Harris was on ESPN. They asked him, how do you do it? How do you tackle Gronk? And Chris Harris said, you got to hit him low, man. Hit him in his knees. That's the best chance you have of hitting him. You got to take his legs out and hold on and wait for everybody. Wait for the gang to come on and gang tackle him. Well, you know Chris Harris. I know Chris Harris. A lot of people around here know Chris Harris. That's a strategy decision he's talking about.
Right.
He's not talking dirty. He's not saying hit him in his knees to knock him out of the game
Yeah.
or injure him.
He's honest enough to answer a technique question.
And it's the right answer.
It's the right answer, and he's one of the smartest players in football. There's some stat out there that in taking out the slot receiver, keeping him from catching it on third down or whatever it is, there's nobody even close to him in the NFL. The fact that they have him and not Talib doing it, too, tells you This guy is a great player, and he's a great player because he's a very smart player.
Yeah.
Answers the question honestly, wasn't being dirty. No. Don't forget, the dirty team is the other team, the team that cheats every way possible.
There you go.
The Patriots.
I appreciate that. You're a big Broncos fan.
This week I am. Don't like the Patriots.
Fair enough.
Like Tom Brady, I think he's terrific.
Yeah, you do. You always have. But I thought that was garbage. They're trying to make a controversy out of this. They went to Gronkowski with it and said, what do you think about this? I guarantee Gronk didn't care either. How else do you think he would tackle himself? He would go low because you hit that guy high, he's going to score a touchdown. So I think it's crap. I'm defending my guy. I'm defending my team. And one of our favorites, Chris Harris, answered it the right way and is now being talked about like he's this villain or whatever. But should be a good game. The other game should be too. So should Kansas, Texas. All of a sudden, that one looks bigger than it has in weeks.
In basketball, yes.
Yeah, you saw that one on the schedule, and it was kind of like, okay, whatever. But it's a big game for the race now. It's a big game for KU to get back on track, and Shaka Smart will be in the building. I'm very excited about that. If you didn't listen to our podcast, you'll find out how excited I am there. Tom?
It's a big game for the Big 12 race and for the human race.
And for the human race.
It's that big.
It's that big. Good stuff. We'll end it right there. I don't know how we can go better than that. For Tom Keegan, I'm Matt Tait. We'll talk to you guys next week on another episode of KU Sports Extra.